Hello everybody. In this video, let's focus on creating some calculations, performing some calculations on our run sheet data where we can do some kind of aggregations player wise so that we can use it for creating some other kind of charts, probably some kind of comparison across various players, or from that perspective it would be better if I can have the aggregate data compiled for all the players. So that's where I would go to this player profile sheet, and I will try to compile some of the parameters, like let's say matches for all these players who are listed, and probably I'll take the averages. Then I'll introduce you to strike rate. I'll define it, and I'm also interested in away to home, away by home average, and I also create away by home strike rate, right? And let's say I may also be interested in a few more parameters like boundaries percentage, sixes percentage, and not out percentage, like this, so that I can create some new queries for handling some of the datas. All right, so let's go with these kind of calculations. Most of them, yeah, matches I can do a simple counting. So that's where I'll go with a formula like count if. Okay, so I'll say count if the range and criteria. So I'll say the range, I'll point to this runs B column, comma, the criteria I will point to the player profiles, the name of the person. So this says that this particular person had played 108 matches, and I'll get the data corresponding to all the players. I don't see that there is anything with respect to error in this data, so which means I don't need to put any kind of error handling statement. Whereas when it comes to average, I may have the problem. Yeah, but before I compute the average, I'll have the runs so that I can directly use wherever for finding averages and all that stuff. So here I will use sum if, as we have discussed earlier, or as we have used earlier. Sum if, open bracket, go to this run sheet. The B column will be my criteria range, where the criteria should be equal to this player profiles, the name of the player, and the addition happens on the runs, which means I go to this run sheet and select the C column. All right. So this particular person, SM Gavaskar, has scored 3092 runs till date. Like that, I can very well see the runs scored by the remaining people in this area. All right. Then I would also like to look at the averages of each of the person. So I should typically go with runs divided by the number of matches in which they are out. So runs is this. I divided by number of matches in which he is out. I need to use count ifs, because there are two criteria. One is the player name should match, and the other one is the out should match. So what I would simply go with is, in this run sheet, the first criteria is the player name, comma, should match with this name. Then again in the run sheet, the status, comma, should match with out. So I'll simply type in out within quotes. So this will give me the average of this person. So just to improvise on it, I'll use the round formula on the top of it to make it to 2 decimals. Yes, so the average of this person is around 35.14, and for various people this is the average, and at some places I am seeing a div0 error, which means I should do an error handling. And as we have discussed, I can do error handling with if EZRR, this entire formula put inside the EZRR, then put a comma. If it is error, display it as blank, otherwise display the whole formula. Just close the bracket and then drag it. Wherever you see there is the possibility of error, you can very well go and handle it in this manner. Now you don't see any kind of error in this data. This is the better way to handle it. Alright. Now the same way. Yeah. Now I would like to have the away versus home average. So I need to find out the average away as well as average home, and based on that I need to take the appropriate decision, right? So I need the average away, so I need to find out will otherwise introduce two new fields. Here I'll find out away average and I'll say home average, so that after that I can divide one by the other. So the away average can come directly from this average, but instead of the runs I need only the away runs. So let me do it separately. The away runs is what is required. So I'll do sum ifs. I want to add the runs C column, but the first criteria is the player name should match. So player name, comma, I select from the player profiles the A column A2. So this is the name of the player. Then I also require the away. So get again into the runs, select the L column, and if required type it as away. So these are the runs he has scored on away. If I divide this by the number of outs away, I will get the average away. So for that I use the count ifs function. 3 rules. First, the player name should match. So player name should be equal to the player profiles, this name of the player. Then the second condition for me is the home or away L column should be equal to away, and I should add only the outs, which means the D column should be equal to only out. So this will do the necessary counting, and it says the away average for this person, so I can round it up, round and then make it to 2 decimals. Yes, but here also there is a problem of error. So before I do a round itself, I will check for this error. So I'll not put the round right away. I'll put if is error of this, then I'll put a blank. Otherwise, I'll copy this entire space and I'll put the pasting here. But here I may think of doing a round. Here I may think of doing a round, putting it to 2 decimals, and I can close the bracket here. So this way it will work out on the away average of this person. I'll get that is away average is something around this. Yes, the system has calculated the away averages of all these persons, of all the players. And if I want the home average, the simple thing is I'll copy the formula from here, easier thing to do, and I'll try to paste this here. But wherever I have written away, I'll try to write it to home. Yes, this should solve the purpose for us. Yes, 36.12 at home and something else at away. So what we can very well do is away to home average. I can simply divide this number by this number. But if I by doing that, again, if I try to drag it, there are so many hash value error. The simpler way again is if is error of this, show them as blank, otherwise show this value. And if required, I can very well do a rounding of it, or yeah, I can even multiply this by 100 to make some kind of an impact and even round this entire thing to 2 decimals. All right. So this says that this ratio is around 95.65, but for a lot of people the number itself does not exist. So for this person it is 122, which means this person had done phenomenally well outside compared to India. Even this person had done phenomenally well outside compared to India. That's how we can evaluate this. Now, the same way we can look at the strike rates. Yeah, the way I define the strike rate is the runs divided by the number of balls faced. That is what will give me the strike rate of the person. So all I can do is for the runs I can simply take this number as it is, but the ball space, so I can simply use sum if. In the run sheet I'll match with this player, the player name as equal to the name of the player. All right, and in that I need to add up the ball space, so which means come to this run sheet, click on the E column. So if required we can even convert it into multiply it by 100 and even convert it into the rounding part. All right, again there are some errors, which means if is err, this entire stuff, put it in quotes, put it in bracket, then comma. If it is an error, just type a blank, otherwise let the value be displayed. Close the bracket. Now at least the errors will be not surfacing for us. Alright, now let's not bother too much about away to home strike rate, right? So let's try to do a couple of more things. Now as the chart is moving out, we require we as the whole data calculations are there, I need to even try to compute the boundaries, how many runs are scored in boundaries as a percentage of the total runs. So that's where again I can use the SUMIF function. Again a similar logic, the player name matching with the name of the player from the sheet, and I would sum up all the boundaries that have been scored, which is the F column. But this would give me the number of boundaries, so multiply this by 4 will give me the runs scored in boundaries, and divide that by the total runs of this person, and if required even multiply it by 100 to get the percentage of runs scored in the form of boundaries. Even this can be rounded up to 2 decimals, so I'll write a round formula on the top of this, round of this comma 2. So this person scored around 30% of his runs in the form of boundaries. The same way I can go below for everyone. So this person has scored 60% of his runs in the form of boundaries. But we still have some kind of div 0 error coming up, which means this entire stuff I can put if is err of this entire thing, comma, quote, empty quote, and if it is not an error, then copy this entire formula. So this is the same process which you can do every time you encounter any kind of error in the data and you would like to handle that error in a much better manner. Similarly, we can talk about the success percentage. So I'll simply copy this code instead of writing it again, because the only difference between the boundaries and success for me is, instead of selecting the data from the F column, I'll select it from the G column, because G is what will contain the sixes. So instead of F colon F, wherever I have used F colon F, I'll use G colon G. That's it. So this person has scored 2.72% of his total runs in the form of sixes, whereas we can see about the other players. And then we are talking about the not out percentage. The same thing, I need to find out the number of not outs in the total number of matches he has played. Okay, so I need to count ifs, because one with the player name. So one first criteria is the player column, which should be equated to the name of the player, and the second one is the status column, which is the D column, which should be equated to not out. So this will be the total number of not outs for this person, that divided by the total number of matches he has played, which comes from this player profiles, the matches section, and if required multiply this by 100, and if required round this entire stuff to 2 decimals. Right? Alright, 12.96% of the times he was not out, whereas the same numbers you could see for others. Alright, so this is looking like a much better kind of an information. So we have calculated different kinds of entities so that if we are required to do any kind of an analysis where we bring in a multiplayer comparison kind of a stuff, I should be able to do it with a better chart plotting kind of stuff. So that's where we have used the different formulas to compute our values, which can be used in the form of plotting for different kinds of charts. Of course, if there are any more calculations required as we progress, we need to focus more on them and try to use those appropriate formulas for computing those values. I hope we are comfortable now with the usage of different variants of sum, different variants of count, different variants of average, and various other formulas which can really play a role in trying to bring some attractiveness to the plotting of the charts. If you have any further queries regarding the usage of any of these formulas, you can feel free to contact us on 919840 You can even drop in an email at vamsidhar@pacegurus.com. I request you to visit our website www.pacegurus.com for the different training programs and consulting and videos which we offer in the areas of Excel, VBA, SPSS, dashboards, especially relating to the fields of finance and analytics. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.